Hey everybody, Hamer back again with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time I'm going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 23, which is called Action. So we start this episode and you'll notice right away that there's a lot of ground to cover. Cinnamon, yeah, you heard that right, Cinnamon gets her instructions at a spa. The mission is to discredit Miklos Klar, a film producer behind the Iron Curtain, from airing a film about purported American war crimes in Southeast Asia. The mission team consists of the usual team, minus Dan, but including a fellow named David Day. Yes, I know some of you have many questions about this, and I promise I'll answer them after the recap. We have the discussion scene in what I guess is Cinnamon's apartment, with the team talking about some different parts of the plan. It's clear that the IMF plans to destroy the film, but there's more to it than that. Off the team goes to Cinefot Studios, with Willie getting Barney in to the building inside a file cabinet. That's a common technique that we'll see multiple times in later episodes. And David brings in a production truck with supplies. Cinnamon goes in as an extra. Willie then gets into an elevator with an army captain, knocks him out, and Roland quickly follows him up, taking the captain's place. The filing cabinet proves useful for getting the real captain out of the picture. Klar tells Roland how he's paid attention to detail in making his film, using actual American-made media to match the look and feel, for example, and it's spliced carefully at an opportune time to make the whole thing look like continuous footage. Roland has to see the film again after the first showing, and then carelessly steps on his glasses, deliberately of course, saying he'll watch the film again tomorrow and then give his approval. Security tells Klar that one of the extras, Cinnamon of course, hasn't left the studio. David uses the boom on his production truck to get Cinnamon up to the top floor where Klar's office is located. Cinnamon signals Barney and takes deliberate steps so that Barney can locate the film vault as well as Klar's office. Klar finds Cinnamon there, and she presents him with a demo film of herself. Klar admires her moxie, I guess, takes a look at it and says it's pretty good. As they leave the lot, Cinnamon sticks a small blade on Klar's projector. Barney puts a snake through the water piping with a heater, setting off the sprinklers and ruining his vault films. Roland and Klar review the film again the next day, with Klar not noticing that his film was being destroyed as it's running. Roland alerts him whilst removing the blade, and Klar prepares to go to get the negative to make another print, at which point he realizes what's become of his vault. Klar prepares defiantly to shoot the footage again, with Willie bringing in a cart with a bunch of corpses for the shoot, one of which is David. Klar insists on getting rid of the fake corpses. He will use live extras for detail purposes. Willie pushes the cart out of sight, allowing David to quietly run up the rafters as Roland distracts everyone by letting a match fall into a can of paint. David sets up a small microphone and camera and tapes the shoot, including Klar giving instructions to the actors over a couple of takes. He tosses the film down to Roland. Klar gives his film to a messenger for immediate processing and tells him to deliver it to his office directly. Roland hands the IMF film off to Barney on their way to Klar's office. There's a knock on the door as Roland and Klar are having drinks. Turns out Barney was picked up by guards in the basement, forcing Roland to act quickly and say he's taking Barney to headquarters for questioning. But Klar insists that the other guards can take him, and he wants Captain Roland to stay with him for security and make sure absolutely nothing happens to the film. He stays in the room as David, the projectionist, sets up the film, and it seems like the plan is all going to hell in a handbasket. Willie and Cinnamon watch Barney being led away by the guards, with Willie following them. Klar's film is shown to the horror of the world news community, as David looks somewhat helplessly on at Roland. A guard discovers a real projectionist bound and gagged in a closet, smacking David around, but fortunately Willie and Barney arrive in the nick of time to make the save. The IMF film is then shown with Klar directing the footage, making him a complete laughingstock. Roland meaningfully removes his glasses and walks out. Mission accomplished. Okay, so now let's get to the real story here, some of which you've likely figured out by now. Stephen Hill, Dan Briggs, basically walked out on this episode. He was the one who was supposed to run up the rafters and shoot the IMF footage of Klar's production, which is what part of what David Day does in this episode. He essentially threw a fit of some sort. He locked himself in his trailer. He was suspended by the producers. 2 days worth of footage needed to be reshot. And this essentially sealed his fate with the show. I've mentioned in previous episodes about how Stephen Hill, he had his own way of doing things. He had his own parameters that he wanted to work with or work under. And, he was accommodated as much as possible, but this was basically the last straw. We will see him here and there in the last few episodes, but not very much. About the episode, I'm going to give this one a grade of C-. Couple of good things I should mention. Martin Landau, out of necessity, carries this episode well. He has to, right, with Briggs' absence. He's done it before. He'll do it again. Not really much of a surprise there. It's kind of neat how the writers did make a little bit of suspense at the end about, oh my gosh, everything's going wrong. Barney got caught. This is happening. That's not happening. That sort of thing. That was good. What's bad to me is I watched this episode again, and I've said this to myself every time I have watched this episode. I find Miklos Klar to be completely unengaging as a villain. I do not really, I don't dislike him. I don't like him. I just can't bring myself to care about the guy. And when a villain is unengaging, okay, so why do I want to see him get taken down? I don't know. I just can't get myself motivated to really care about this episode or this character. I don't really know how else I can put it into words. It could just be the whole premise of this episode, where we're talking about a guy who's just a movie producer. And yeah, he's doing something that I guess is against U.S. interests or whatever. But I mean, I don't know. It's just the idea that this type of guy is a target for an elite IMF force. I don't know. There's just something that doesn't work for me about that. And so I just can't really consider this to be a decent episode above the grade of a C-. Also, I do want to point out, I'm bothered by the way that at the very end of this episode, Rollin kind of burns Klar with giving him that meaningful look, taking off the glasses and saying, we got you. He doesn't actually say the words, but it's pretty clear. I don't like the idea of the IMF basically burning the people that they're targeting. They're supposed to be, like I said, an elite, tactical force in a sense that just goes in and they do their job and that's it. Mission accomplished. Let's go home. There really wasn't anything to that. Like, what was the point of letting Klar know, haha, we got you? Maybe that's another thing that kind of turns me off in terms of just not liking this episode overall. Maybe it's just me. I would love to hear your comments, as always, about this. Did you think this was a good episode? What did you like about it? What have I missed? I would love to hear what you have to say. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.